Alright, what's happening, y'all? It's your boy Rico coming with an in-depth Rico report. I finally had time to re-watch that Buccaneers loss in the playoffs with Taylor Heinicke starting. And the main point of this video is to discuss, and this game had a lot of benefits to it. I know like some people believe in like playoff experience and the more games the better, stuff like that. But for me, my biggest takeaway is that this game showed loudly exactly what our weaknesses are. I think without this game, we generally knew what our weaknesses were, but I think going into the 2021 season after playing the Buccaneers, we now officially know exactly where we need to get better. Now, some things, I mean, it would help if you corrected them, but it's not like every team in the NFL is perfect. The Chiefs aren't perfect, but they still may win a Super Bowl. So you don't need to necessarily correct all of these things to win a Super Bowl, but it would be in your best interest to correct as many of them as possible. Again, no team is perfect, so it's no way to really go through and make sure we figure all of this out. But now, at least Ron Rivera, Kyle Smith, and whoever the potential GM may be, hopefully if Kyle Smith is still around in some capacity, that Buccaneers game without a doubt helped them pinpoint exactly what all of their weaknesses are and which ones are the biggest. I'm going to do a video, later down the line, somewhere closer to free agency, and I'll discuss what our biggest weaknesses are. But I wanted to talk about all of the little things that this Buccaneers loss pointed out that we need to improve in. I mean, it can be something, a whole player position, a specific player, coaching wise. It's just a lot of things. So let's go ahead and get to it. Let's get it. And just to reiterate, this isn't necessarily all just weaknesses. Like this first one I'm going to talk about isn't necessarily a weakness, but it's something that we learned from this game. Not all of these are necessarily weaknesses. But first topic is the Heinicke experience, man. He looks to have something special in him, man. I mean, who knows if he can do it for an entire season? Because right now our biggest doubts for him are his durability, and that's how it's always been. He's been relatively injury prone his entire career, and he's just one of those guys that you don't necessarily depend on him to play a full 16 game season. Now he does give you a lot of production, he makes things exciting, but you can't just depend on him for a full 16 game season. So, and I'm gonna go really far in depth on this in like a quarterback possibilities video that I do. But to summarize it quickly, we may end up going into 2021 with Kyle Allen again just because of how extremely cheap he will be. You can even literally pay him the veteran minimum with the type of free agent he is. Then Heinicke, being a restricted free agent, he's probably not going to make a lot of money. I'm pretty sure he's going to make more than a Kyle Allen. Maybe like 3, 4, maybe $5 million a year, but nothing too crazy. But I don't like Kyle Allen. I mean, I see the logic in keeping him if he's going to literally only get paid veteran minimum. He's going to cost no money. What's the point of not having him on the roster? And then, as much as I love Taylor Heinicke, you just can't depend on him to play a full 16 games. So, whether you bring in a free agent or you trade for somebody, and I'm going to talk about all of that in my potential 2021 Washington football team quarterback room video. But my ideal situation is to have Taylor Heinicke as the presumed starter, Kyle Allen as like a third quarterback, and then we draft a rookie quarterback. Preferably trade up for like a Trey Lance, Zach Wilson, Justin Fields, whoever. Whichever guy Ron Rivera, Kyle Smith, and whoever the eventual GM loves. Like, I love Trey Lance, but at the end of the day, if Ron Rivera and Scott Turner don't love Trey Lance, if they only just like him, if they're willing to wait on him at 19, that means they do not love him, so don't take him. Make sure whoever you trade up for, you love, you can envision yourself being a Super Bowl contender for like the next 10 years with them. So my ideal situation is to take like a Trey Lance, for example, have him sit behind Taylor Heinicke for however long he needs to. But the Heinicke experience is real. And speaking of the Heinicke experience, point 2, Scott Turner's offense needs a mobile quarterback. Point blank, period. There's no coincidence that the offense just looked far more explosive. We're able to move the ball and put up points way easier with Heinicke in that quarterback, and even Kyle Allen, who I don't like. To me, Kyle Allen isn't even that good, but a mobile quarterback is able to extend plays. Scott Turner is able to open up the playbook more, call more formations, call more plays, get more detail with his strategy, become smarter with his play calling decisions. This offense that Scott Turner wants to run clearly requires a mobile quarterback. And I'm not alleviating any of his blame for when Haskins and Alex Smith was in the game and he was calling these weird, wacky plays that just looked like, what are you doing? But it's clear that when Kyle Allen and Taylor Heinicke are in the game, he just looks like a better play caller because he finally had mobile quarterbacks that can run the offense the way he envisioned it. And that's why somebody like a Trey Lance, Zach Wilson, or Justin Fields would be perfect, because you could transition from a Taylor Heinicke or a Kyle Allen to one of those three quarterbacks I keep naming effortlessly. It would be so smooth. You can run the exact same offense, whereas when we had Haskins in, it was one offense, offense A. When Kyle Allen came in, it was offense B. When Alex Smith came in, it was offense C. And then when Taylor Heinicke came in, it was more like a slight variation to the offense that Scott Turner was calling for Kyle Allen. It was very similar, so I'll call that B2 or something. And I think it would be very similar. I think with Trey Lance, Justin Fields, and Zach Wilson, it would be like a B3 rather than A, C, or a D. And it's clear from the Buccaneers game, this offense needs a mobile quarterback to operate at its full power. Third observation, Chase Young needs strength. Donovan Smith just flat out outplayed Chase Young, and the majority of it was just pure outmuscling him. More strength than Chase Young had. Chase Young is just used to winning so easily at the college level, no matter who he played, because he was usually stronger than everybody he went against. But now at the NFL level, the games we've seen him not be extremely impactful in was when he was going against an offensive lineman that was clearly stronger than him. And in the beginning of the season, when he was even a little less strong than he is today, he was struggling a little bit more just off of the fact that he had to gain more NFL strength. I feel like next year he's going to come even stronger and dominate. But that game against Donovan Smith, contrary to popular belief, Chase Young was not double teamed much at all that game. It was just one-on-one with Donovan Smith most of the time, and Chase Young just couldn't really do anything with him. Now, Chase Young is due for a big play every now and then, no matter what, just because he's that special. He's that great of a talent. He's that athletic. But overall, snap by snap, it wasn't a great game for him, for somebody of his caliber. For like a normal edge rusher, that's a good game. But for what we expect out of Chase Young, that wasn't one of those Hall of Fame talent looking games. So Chase Young and Montez Sweat both just need to hit the weight room, man. Get stronger. Don't gain too much muscle to where you lose a lot of your speed, because we need that. Your ball get off and all of that is just A1, and we need that. But you definitely need to get stronger and work on a better attack plan. You need more counters so that when somebody is stronger than you, you have a good set of go-to moves to go to after the first move doesn't work. So Chase Young, just some areas to improve in over the offseason, but we've already seen he's a great talent, but we just want to get that consistently snap to snap rather than every now and then. I mean, I want him to be able to just eat up double teams consistently if he has to. He has the build for it, the athleticism, the natural talent, just needs to gain some strength and gain some better counter moves, and then he's going to be unstoppable. And my fourth observation, and we've seen it at moments throughout the season, Kendall Fuller and Ronald Darby's lack of athleticism is going to get them killed every now and then. We need more athleticism at the corner position. And it's crazy because Fabian Moreau is really athletic, so I'm not exactly sure why he's not even getting a real chance. Maybe because the game was on the line. Ronald Darby and Kendall Fuller are more experienced, and they wanted to just go with the guys that are more trustworthy. But Fabian Moreau is probably our most athletic corner. And first of all, Kendall Fuller belongs in the slot. He just struggles outside in general. He makes a play here and there, but when an offense is like literally targeting him consistently for a game, we've seen him get beat. And usually Ronald Darby and Kendall Fuller are good at keeping things in front of them, but when receivers are just athletic, like a Chris Godwin and a Mike Evans, there's nothing they can do. Once people get past them, it gets dark. Ronald Darby was able to make some plays where people got past him. He was able to get a hand up and interrupt it and bat the ball down, not even facing the ball, just off of pure instincts and just veteran nuanced cornerback play. But at the end of the day, we need more athleticism in that cornerback group, because Antonio Brown was open a lot. I mean, guys were just open quite a bit. Then another reason that it didn't seem so bad most of these other games as compared to the Buccaneers game is because our pass rush was normally getting to the quarterback all of these other games. But with Chase Young not having one of his best games of the season, Montez Sweat, same thing. Really, Deron Payne was the best defensive lineman we had out there throughout the course of the game. He was the only player that played a game worthy of an A grade out of our defensive line. Jonathan Allen made plays here and there. Montez Sweat made plays here and there. Chase Young made plays here and there, but they weren't consistent enough. We weren't getting the Brady quick enough, and that puts pressure on our corners. And I said before the season started with how Ronald Darby and Kendall Fuller are not very athletic and how aggressive they are, you're going to need a consistent pass rush on games that our pass rush is getting there. Like, it's no problem. Ronald Darby and Kendall Fuller, no coincidence, have looked like better corners. But when Brady's having all of this time in the pocket, Ronald Darby and Kendall Fuller are getting sliced up in the passing game. So, first of all, the pass rush has to get better, but our corners also need to be athletic. Because Kendall Fuller and Ronald Darby are very smart corners. Their bodies just literally can't keep up with a lot of these freakishly athletic wide receivers in the NFL. And now another crop of athletic receivers are coming into the NFL. I mean, just this year alone with Smith and Jalen Waddle and Jamar Chase, I mean, it can get even uglier. So take note of that. Ronald Darby and Kendall Fuller may be good enough next season if our pass rush is dominant enough. And my next point, free safety play is better. But if you want to play it safe, go get you a more athletic corner. And as I just alluded to, the next point is that we need an elite, rangy, single, high, deep free safety that could just be the last line of defense by himself and hold it down back there. All the way on the back end by himself on an island. No fly zone by himself. We need that guy. Somebody like a Justin Simmons or Anthony Harris, I mean, you can literally just put them back there by themselves. I mean, even Earl Thomas at this age. That can help out our corners so much because our corners don't really get beat in the short field or not even necessarily in the intermediate range. It's more so that deep range where, again, Ronald Darby, Kendall Fuller just don't have the athleticism to keep up with a lot of these receivers in the league. And they get burnt if you have that elite, rangy free safety. First of all, quarterbacks may not even want to throw it that direction because they know what they do. When you're going against Anthony Harris and Justin Simmons, a lot of the times quarterbacks don't even want to try them. They don't even want to throw deep because they already know they're more than likely going to get there to make the play. But even if a quarterback tries this, they're going to be there to force the incompletions, to get their interceptions, or lay the big hit. Now, I like Cesar Everett as a nice combo safety. He can play a little strong safety, a little free safety. He's a pretty decent backup. I love his heavy hitting ability, but he's not just this deep, single high, rangy free safety guy that this defense needs, especially to go along with Cameron Curl being so versatile, can play in the slot, can play in the box and everything, but he's not that deep single high free safety guy. He's not athletic enough. He's smart enough, but he does not have the athleticism and the speed to do it. You get an Anthony Harris or Justin Simmons, it's a no-fly zone in this DB group, period. Or if you can find somebody in the draft, like potentially maybe a Hamsah Nasiruddin, because the pass rush is not going to get there every play, but if you have an Anthony Harris or Justin Simmons or some elite free safety that's just super rangy, it'll at least make quarterbacks think twice. And if they don't, interception, you know what I'm saying? And that can bail out Ronald Darby and Kendall Fuller so much. So I feel like you need to do either one. Upgrade the athleticism at the cornerback position or upgrade the free safety position, one of the top tier guys in the league. And then that literally makes our defense arguably the best defense in the NFL. Especially with Matt Ioannidis coming back. We get an elite free safety. It's a no-fly zone. That's going to help the defensive line too because, I mean, coverage is going to be so A1. We're going to get some coverage sacks sometime where the quarterback is just running around in the backfield for like 5-6 seconds. And after 5-6 seconds, somebody out of Daron Payne, Jonathan Allen, Matt Ioannidis, Chase Young, and Montez Sweat are going to get to the quarterback. Somebody's going to get there. With the talent we have on the defensive line, quarterbacks won't have that long. And with a no-fly zone in the back end, we're going to get more sacks because of that too. So getting elite free safety helps out the corners, helps out the defensive line, helps their stats out and everything. It's a win-win. Might cost you some money, may cost like 14, maybe 15 million a year, but it can literally take our defense to the next level. And remember, if you release Alex Smith, that's $15 million we saved. That can go literally to an Anthony Harris and Justin Simmons if they don't get franchise tagged or re-signed long-term by their respective teams. And I know it sucks to, have all that money tied up into just the safety position alone, but maybe you find a way to move Landon Collins off the team. Maybe you convince him somehow to learn to play linebackers because Cameron Curl has earned that strong safety spot. You don't fix what's not broken. And the next point, This offensive line just needs continuity and more experience. A lot of the offensive line problems we had in that game, especially like the first half, because the second half they were pretty good. They were as good as I thought they should be. But that first half they were getting beat a lot, and it's just chemistry issues. Cornelius Lucas and Wes Schweitzer just don't have a lot of experience in the NFL, and they're talented and they can play very well. They just don't do it consistently, and a lot of that's just gonna come with nuance, trusting each other. When Cornelius Lucas can trust Wes Schweitzer to be in the right place at the right time, to do the right assignment, to do the right thing every time, he can play more freely, he can play a little bit better. Same thing with Cornelius Lucas from Wes Schweitzer. You know what I'm saying? Once they can learn to trust each other better, once they gain better chemistry with the entire O-line as a whole, I think our offensive line, literally with just this exact starting five going into next year, is good enough to win a Super Bowl with. Now, of course, you hope Sadiq Charles comes back healthy and at least competes for a starting guard or tackle position. You hope maybe we draft a guy, third round or later. Maybe you go and get like a Joe Thuney or Larry Warford at guard, and then you make Wes Schweitzer a backup guard, and he would literally be the best backup guard in the NFL. And I mean, that's good too, because Brandon Sheriff is due to miss a couple of games this season. So all you have to do is plug in Wes Schweitzer at that right guard position, and it's basically like we didn't miss much. But yeah, man, I mean, an upgrade in talent, like a Larry Warford or a Joe Thuney, like I said, would help a lot. But honestly, this offensive line is good enough to win a Super Bowl with. It's just going to take more experience in practice and continuity, chemistry. I mean, you got to remember, Cornelius Lucas and Wes Schweitzer came here, and all we had to get them ready was barely even a training camp. And that's why we didn't even know Cornelius Lucas was better than Jerron Christian. We didn't even have enough practices in the offseason to see Cornelius Lucas go out there and perform consistently enough to declare that he was the better left tackle. That's why we ended up starting Jerron Christian over him to start out the season. So Jerron Christian got hurt. Cornelius Lucas filled in very well. And it's just like, if they can just get an offseason, some preseason games, some training camp, mini camps, all of that, I think this exact starting five offensive line can lead you to a Super Bowl. And they can only get better from here. Next point, Jack Del Rio, man. I love what you've done with this defense, taking us from bottom of the league to top five within a year, just like you did for the Broncos. But I know you didn't necessarily have the talent you needed to stop a guy like Tom Brady, but we're going to need better strategies versus a quarterback as smart as Tom Brady. I know generally most of the quarterbacks in the NFL now are more athletic guys, and Tom Brady's arguably the smartest quarterback we've gone against all season. So of course it didn't seem like we were ready for this, player-wise and coaching-wise, but like these zones we were running, trying to rush forward, they're not getting there. Tom Brady just killing our zones because the pass rush isn't getting there with four. We should have switched it up more. There were some plays where you had 5 defensive linemen, and that worked out better than the 4 defensive linemen and more guys in coverage. So I feel like we should have done the 5 defensive linemen more, maybe blitzed more. Anything is better than what we were doing with just rushing 4 and having the other 7 guys basically in coverage, because Tom Brady was just eating that up. I mean, we were just in zone coverage and he was just eating it all up, finding the hole every time it seemed like. So Jack Del Rio, learn your players' weaknesses and strengths better. Again, an offseason would have helped this out a lot. I mean, I know we played a lot of games, but an offseason definitely would have helped at least a little bit for this. But I feel like next season, especially after this film, he's going to watch this film just like I did. He's going to watch it way more than me. He's going to watch it in more detail than me. And I mean, I feel like me telling him this is redundant because I'm pretty sure he already knows by now. But still, I just wanted to say it out loud for those of y'all who didn't review the Buccaneers film. We just need to have a smarter strategy going against somebody like Tom Brady, especially after a while. If you see the pass rush is not getting there because it wasn't early on, then you switch to that 5 defensive lineman strategy or blitz him more, whatever, sooner than you did. And make sure you stay with it. Don't do the 5 defensive linemen, see it work pretty well, and then get rid of it, go back to 4 defensive linemen. That wasn't working that game. My next point, we kind of do need a wide receiver too. I'm not going to lie. And not even just a wide receiver too, but specifically somebody that can separate. That's why I have us taking Chris Olave in the second round of my first of at least 5 mock drafts I'm coming out with before the draft hits late April. Y'all can make sure y'all go check that out. But I have us getting Chris Olave because, I mean, he's going to be one of those guys that's always open. He's going to enter the league as a top 15 route runner. I mean, his route running is beautiful, crisp, always open, dependable hands, and that's what you need opposite Terry McLaurin, because Cam Sims, pretty good contested catcher, started to get into a flow of things once the game went on. I mean, he had some drops early, but I think that was just more so jitters and had to get rid of the nervousness, shake it off and stuff like that, get his head in the zone. But he's not a separator. When he's open, you have to give Scott Turner basically all of the credit, bro. Cam Sims is not a separator. Cam Sims is open because of Scott Turner's scheme and play calling. I like Cam Sims a lot, but he's just not this separator we need opposite of Terry McLaurin. I mean, with Terry McLaurin demanding all of the attention and taking on double teams a lot of the time, somebody that can win one-on-one all of the time, that's always going to be open and is going to catch everything that's thrown to them, is a perfect counterpart to Terry McLaurin, and especially to potentially a rookie quarterback that's just trying to catch up to the NFL pace and gain confidence, get into a rhythm. Somebody like Chris Olave would be perfect. Again, Cam Sims not a great separator. Steven Sims has all of the athleticism and the know-how to separate. He's just not consistent. I think it's all mental with him. He just has mental breakdowns and stuff. He's just not consistent. So I don't want to depend on Steven Sims. Antonio Gandy-Golden wasn't healthy enough to really see what he could do during this season, so I don't want to go into next season just assuming he's going to be as good as I hope coming out the draft. Same thing with Kelvin Harmon. Excellent contested catcher. I think he's more talented than Cam Sims, potentially. But who knows if he's going to be even 100% coming back from his injury. And it's crazy because during the offseason, we were hearing that he was starting to learn how to run routes better. He was starting to separate better and more consistently. Then he got hurt, so we never could see it. So I just don't want to depend on these guys. I don't want to depend on Kelvin Harmon being an improved guy from what people said during the offseason before he got hurt. And I don't want to depend on him being 100% himself when he returns. I don't want to depend on AGG's draft potential. I don't want to depend on Steven Sims to suddenly become consistent. And Cam Sims can't separate. So unless we just have a quarterback that's just going to throw dots after dot after dot, which a lot of these guys don't even do. Most of these successful quarterbacks out here don't even throw dots like that consistently in the tight windows all of the time, all game, every game. I prefer to have somebody that can truly separate on their own against one-on-ones because Terry McLaurin is going to demand all of the attention. And if you're not double teaming Terry McLaurin, then he's going to be the one that's open. Somebody between those two is going to be open every play. Either one of them or both of them. Next point, we need a linebacker, man. Need to improve the linebacker position. I like Cole Holcomb a lot. Right now, he's our best linebacker, but he's not very consistent. And I mean, a lot of that does fall on the other linebackers. I mean, as far as splitting up responsibilities, it can be hard to be a consistent linebacker when your other linebackers are letting you down and you're out here guessing wrong and trying to make decisions and plays that are outside of your responsibility so you can make up for what they're doing. I'm not saying that's every Cole Holcomb play at all, but it's definitely some of them. But Cole Holcomb definitely has some inconsistencies as far as plugging in the right hole, the correct hole, eating up blocks and getting rid of people to make the play in the backfield. And then he's just not great in coverage. He's improved, but he's still not great in coverage. Then Kevin Pierre-Louis, I would say, is our second best linebacker, but that's not saying much at all. John Bostic is a pretty decent backup. And then after that, I mean, it's like, you know what I'm saying? So we need to get more athletic at the linebacker position and just better overall, period. So if we can go and get a Levante from the Buccaneers, I'm willing to pay him $15 million a year if that's what it takes. If we literally give this money we're saving from releasing Alex Smith straight to Levante per year, I'm perfectly fine with that, because just like an elite free safety, he would change our entire defense. He would be exactly what we wanted Reuben Foster to be here for. He would be our best coverage linebacker. He could be our best Mike linebacker. I mean, he would just literally be the best linebacker on this team, point blank, period. I literally feel like he's the most underrated linebacker in the NFL. I mean, it's very similar to the London Fletcher thing, where he's one of the best linebackers consistently every year. You put his stats up against anybody, Ray Lewis, all of them. He's right there with them, but he's not even in Hall of Fame. But he's not even in Hall of Fame discussions just because his team loses a lot. Now the Buccaneers are finally starting to win, so he's starting to get more recognition, but he's been doing this for years. Levante Davis has been a top 5 linebacker in the NFL, and you can make an argument for the best linebacker in the NFL for the past few years now. He's without a doubt the most underrated. We get him on this team with this defensive line, it's over with. It's over with. Even without the elite free safety, I feel like we could be arguably the best defense in the league with a Levante Davis. But, I mean, the main things, shooting the right gaps in the run game, plugging in the right holes, and covering tight ends, man. Tight ends killed us in that Buccaneers game. There's no reason Cameron Brate is out here balling like that. They didn't get us all season, but the Buccaneers showed us that a lot of teams could have gotten us if they game plan for it and tried to take advantage of it like the Buccaneers did. So even though tight ends haven't killed us a lot this past season, doesn't mean they couldn't have. And again, like a lot of these other lessons that we learned in this Buccaneers game, thank you to the Buccaneers for pointing it out. Now we know it needs to be addressed. And then my last and final point, Man, we can hang with the best of them. Between the Buccaneers being very talented, having such a great veteran quarterback, I mean literally like the GOAT. The refs, we got a couple of calls, but they got way more. It was super one-sided for the majority of that game. And the fact that we kept it that close with a guy in Taylor Heinicke that made, I believe, his second start in his NFL career in 5 years. He knows the offense because he was in Carolina, but it's not like he was just out here practicing with the ones all season like Tom Brady's been doing. I mean, the fact that Terry McLaurin was beat up, was probably only playing at like 85%. Antonio Gibson hurt with the turf toe. He was playing at like 70%. And the fact that we have all of these weaknesses that I just talked about before throughout this video, and the fact that we kept that game that close and we made it that interesting, and all the while we're the team in the offseason that needed the offseason the most. New offensive coordinator, new defensive coordinator, new head coach, new so much, players, everything. We needed the offseason more than any other 31 teams in the NFL. Point blank period. We didn't get it. Ron Rivera had to deal with cancer. I mean, that was a huge obstacle. Quarterback carousel. That was a huge obstacle. I mean, we fought through so much to even just make it to this game. And the way they played, man, we can hang with the best of them. And I'm expecting great things out of next season. If we can get our franchise quarterback, he may not play immediately. Maybe he has to sit behind a Taylor Heinicke for half the season, maybe up to the bye week like Tua did. We've seen that didn't work. So maybe like as long as Pat Mahomes did, like the first 15 games, give him the last game so he can put some film that he can review throughout the offseason and come back ready for the next season. Or maybe you sit him for the entire year, maybe year or two like Aaron Rodgers. Or you can go to Josh Allen route, start him day one and he super struggles and then he'll be ready the next year or something. But with how good our team is, I think it would be wise if the quarterback's not ready to start a Taylor Heinicke and then let whoever we draft, Trey Lance, Zach Wilson, Justin Fields, learn behind them until they've fully shown that they are ready. And then if you get an elite free safety or an elite linebacker, this defense is over with. Or if you can just upgrade the athleticism in the cornerback position, arguably best defense in the NFL, point blank period. Once this offensive line gets more minutes in and snaps together and gets more practices in, more games in, I feel like they're going to be good. But you can always upgrade that also. Once Chase Young gains a little bit more strength, he's potentially going to be the best and the most dominant edge rusher in the NFL. I mean, there's so many weaknesses that we came into this game with, so many trials and tribulations we had to ignore, put to the back of our minds going into this game, and we still hung with the best of them. So I'm really excited about this team next season, especially if we get the quarterback position right, however we do it. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Just had to give y'all some of the notes and most notable things that I noticed from this Buccaneers game. A lot of things that were highlighted. I mean, because we already knew free safety was a position of need. We already knew that we needed a wide receiver too somewhat. We already knew we needed better linebacker play. But this game showed exactly why. We need linebackers that can cover tight ends and shoot the right gaps. We need corners that can stick with these athletic wide receivers. We need a free safety that can help those struggling corners. We need a wide receiver too that can separate. Not just a wide receiver too, but a wide receiver too that can separate in one-on-ones and against zone coverage. Again, this game didn't just show exactly what positions we need. It showed exactly what traits we're looking for in that position of need. We need a specific type of linebacker. We need a specific type of free safety. We need a specific type of corner. We need a specific type of wide receiver too. You know what I'm saying? So shouts out to the Buccaneers, man, for really exposing a lot of our weaknesses. And I'm hoping and I'm assuming that Ron Rivera, Jack Del Rio, and Scott Turner recognized a lot of this stuff I've said. More than likely recognized even more than I noticed or even pointed out in this video. So I'm expecting them to go into the 2021 offseason with the correct game plan to get this team right and to become Super Bowl contenders either next year, as in 2021, or the season after that, because we're ready. I think we're going back-to-back in the NFC East, honestly, especially if we get that quarterback position right. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please like this video if you liked it. If you learned anything, please subscribe if you haven't. Definitely hit the bell next to the subscription button so you get videos like this, so you get all of the mock drafts I'm coming out with, so you get all of the film sessions I come out with for players that are already on the roster, like season reviews for potential free agents we may get, like how Allen Robinson would fit in Scott Turner's offense, and how he would work well opposite of Terry McLaurin, things like that. And also potential draft picks that we may get, like a Trey Lance or a Chris Olave, Zach Wilson, guys like that. And then after the draft happens, of course I got to do film sessions on the guys that we just recently drafted and added to the team, man, so y'all can know how they may be used by Jack Del Rio and Scott Turner. And of course the live streams are going to keep coming. You already know we're live streaming every Sunday 1 p.m. Just because the Burgundy and Gold are in the off season doesn't mean I am. So stay tuned with all of the live streams, all of the videos, film sessions, mock drafts, all of that. And as always, man, I really appreciate the support. Everybody that gives to the channel, everybody that likes every video, everybody that pulls up to every video on live stream, everybody that donates. Shouts out to all of my sponsors, especially my Pro Bowl sponsors whose names you see scrolling on the screen right now, man. Really appreciate y'all. Catch y'all later. I'm out.